Proposal 6, all about the bridge, the NITSE, New International Trade Crossing, and whether Michigan residents should have the right to vote on any new bridge that is built here in the state. The Maroon family, which owns the Ambassador Bridge, is obviously funding the effort in favor of Proposal 6. And Mickey Blashfield has taken on the dual role, not only working for the Maroons, but also director of the People Should Decide, which, let's be honest, it's the same entity. I mean, the Maroons,
you have to form a ballot committee in order to advocate, unless, of course, you're the governor and lieutenant governor, then you can campaign on the people's dime.
And the lieutenant governor, well, they act on behalf of the people, they say. We'll talk to the lieutenant governor in just a little bit. So why vote yes on 6? Why do we need this? What's 6 going to do?
Well, the Governor Snyder couldn't sell this bridge to the legislature in the multiple times that they've had, hundreds of hours of hearings, thousands of pages of documents, and they concluded that there was no business case, no financial case, no common sense case, because the traffic is not there, et cetera, et cetera. So they said, no, we don't need to do this authority. Governor went around the legislature, and that put us in the position where we're at now, that the governor can put this in the, he can put this agreement forward and say that he can do it, but it's the taxpayers in Michigan who are going to be on the hook, and that's why we think the people should decide, and they should have a say before we commit to a bridge that we don't need and can't afford.
Will this require that the people decide on the construction of any bridge in the state?
Only those where that are international bridges where the government has a role in it. In other words, if a private enterprise wanted to build a bridge, just like back in 1929, they could do it. If the government of Canada wanted to do this all on their own, they could file for the permits and nothing would be required. But because Michigan ownership, Michigan involvement, Michigan taxpayer money is going to be involved, before we get into that situation, we'd be able to vote on it. Just like in the 1950s, Governor Soapy Williams told the people that Mackinac Bridge won't cost us a nickel. And he was right. It was only 2 years later that we started paying general fund money. The toll is up to about $54 million that they owe the general fund because they couldn't cover the debt service on it. They couldn't cover some of the maintenance on it. And at various times, the legislature had to amend the Constitution in 1963 to allow Michigan to cover that debt.
Right, so we are paying that now, but Canada has guaranteed payment on this bridge, hasn't it?
You would think from all the representations that have been made, but in today's Crain's magazine, or Crain's, it's an online blog, the article from an interview with Governor Snyder says that they will not pay. There is no agreement in place for Canada to pay. And just like politicians change places in Michigan with term limits here, they change in Canada as well, too. There is no agreement in place that would require them to pay the cost overruns. And in fact, the purported agreement that the governor has signed with the Prime Minister allows Canada to walk away at any time and allows the agreement to be changed at any time at the request of Canada. And those are all in black and white. That's why the people ought to have a say before we get into a boondoggle that we don't need and can't afford.
All right, what about a bridge that, let's say that just for instance, for argument's sake, that I wanted to build a bridge over I'm the governor, I want to build a new bridge like the current one over the Tittabawassee River. Okay,
we call that the Zilwaukee Bridge.
Yeah, the Zilwaukee Bridge. I was drawing a mental blank on that for I've been over it a zillion times.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of Zilwaukee. But at any rate, what if I wanted to build that? Would I need to go to the voters for that?
Absolutely not.
Only for an international bridge of some sort?
That's correct. Let me save you the time, because the lieutenant governor will say, well, it was shoddy drafting, et cetera, et cetera. In order to get to that interpretation, you have to ignore the word international 7 times and pretend the word domestic is in there. Now, Frank, we could make a great argument of why the Zilwaukee Bridge ought to be voted on by the people. Because, after all, it's in the 3rd time that we're rebuilding it and repairing it. The cost overruns with that alone were 57%. but we're not going where this doesn't deal with that. That would be under MDOT's responsibilities, and the Supreme Court's already validated that wouldn't apply in that situation. This is only for international bridges, of which we've only built 2 that Michigan's been involved with.
All right, so it's only about the NHTSA.
It's any future international crossing that the government's going to be involved with. So if you're a rail tunnel, you don't have to worry unless you're getting a big fat subsidy someplace. That's why the people should decide and looking for a yes vote with that.
All right, Mickey, thanks for coming by.